darkness is everything.
Hello and welcome to the Delirium engine, where despite our best efforts, we seem to make a show every week. Today I'm with my good friends, the Spartan and Mr. Dagwood, and we will be discussing the rules for players again. We're on, I think, rule 6 of 7, so we're almost done. Next episode's the last rules for players, and we'll be done the whole series. We'll be moving on to the next one, which is already planned, I might add.
Is it now?
Oh, yes.
I look forward.
You want to know what it's called?
Sure.
A little preview? It's called I Character.
I character.
I, comma, character.
What, like iRobot?
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Oh. Ooh.
Ooh.
So we'll be delving. It'll be a 7-part series, because 7 is just the way we go. And it's a
Okay.
7-part series, and it's going to cover various aspects of characters and which ones we're going to discuss, try to figure out which ones are the most successful. So, unlike this one, we're not going to be trying to debunk rules or just talk about rules of playing. We're going to be talking about, instead, we're going to run under the assumption that these are things that a character requires, and what is the best way, or what can we figure out to be the best way to
Okay.
to produce one of these.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
bringing snacks for your DM.
Yeah, like what's in a name, what's things like that.
Yeah.
Bribing your buddies, yeah. That's good.
So yeah, well, other than that, little preview of future things. Let's get sort of right to it. Just to go over it as we do almost every episode. This is a series of rules that I produced back in university, where we wrote down the rules for GMs and the rules for players. I dug it up, dusted it off, and we've been talking about it for, what has it been, like 4 months now?
Something like that.
So,
You have quite a few rules.
well, yeah, this is 7 and 7. For some reason, I like 7 rules. It was a nice number.
You're a very concise god, very cogent.
Yep. So what we do on the show is we have a big hug box about how cool these rules are. Not always, but often. And this episode will hopefully be a little bit different, but I'm not sure. The topic for today is, of course, Rule 6. The game is a negotiation for the narrative spotlight. Not a war. Not a lecture. So, as usual, let me just go through what these rules sort of explained first. And then we'll take it to you guys to see what your opinions are on this thing. And we'll see if you guys disagree or agree with the rules or whatever.
And
Okay.
we can all hug it out.
And we can all have a big hug box.
Yay.
Hug it out. Tell us how smart and intellectual we are.
I agree. Me too.
Yeah, wow, we're
Life is
really
grand.
smart. Okay, so the game is a negotiation for the narrative spotlight. This is basically playing to the idea that each character is in competition with each other for the ability to tell their story. Okay? So, being in competition means that the other characters generally are going to be trying to hedge you out so that they can get the most attention. Now, when you're aware of this, you have to understand, and this is where the second line comes into play. Once you understand that, you have to understand that regardless of how the other characters are acting, this is not a war. You don't need to kill all of your opponents and be the winner of the storyline. All right? So you're basically trying to share the spotlight, but also work as a character and a player towards your own ends. So it doesn't have to be like, okay, this session's yours, this session's mine, but if somebody wants to do something, you don't have to interrupt what they're saying just so you can get more attention from the GM. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody
Yeah.
gets sort of their turn to do things. Sometimes time hops back and forth, but so
get
be
there
it.
eventually.
Yeah, in character, you're trying to attain. Well, in character, you're trying to basically guide the party in the direction you want to go. But out of character, you're willing to give up time doing things so that other characters may pursue their interests as well.
Yeah.
So this is not a war, meaning you're not supposed to be shutting people out. right? And people shouldn't be fighting over it. Like, nobody's interrupting people, nobody's like attacking people, undermining their credibility in some way. And it's not a lecture either, meaning that not everybody shouldn't be sitting there and listening, right? Like, oh, Billy's story is on. We're all just going to sit and listen to what Billy does for the rest of the game. You know, sometimes Billy needs some input.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the idea. Is basically everybody's just got to play the game. Anybody who's trying to not play the game or who's just sitting back and going to roll some dice, you know, you're not going to be a successful player. You're just going to be a guy who sits there and once in a while is like, oh, it's my turn to attack. Roll the die. Yeah, I did 48 damage. I'm good. And then go back to sleep, right? I have a story. If you remind me, I'll tell you the story of the lazy genie. It's one of my favorite. And then the war thing is, of course, yeah. Like, you don't want... take your turns in initiative, you know? Take your turn playing almost like an initiative. Oh, it's my turn to play? I'm going to do these things and this thing and that thing. And then when you've done that thing and it's sort of processing in the game, just shut the hell up. Sit back, let other people do their thing as well. And that's the rule in general. It's sort of a short version of the rule, but basically, guys, share the space. Don't act like asses to each other. It's a pretty straightforward gig. But let's start. Mr. the Spartan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much spot on. You shouldn't be...
Oh, thanks for the hug, buddy.
I know, right? It feels good. I don't know. Just share the spotlight. Like, not every one person can have it all the time. So, and if somebody does, it can get really boring for everyone else.
Absolutely. And so, okay.
Like, I've lost quite a few games where it's been... Well, haven't lost games, but games have ended because things have not... Too many people just sat back and kind of went, whatever, and rolled with it, and nothing happened ever.
That's right. That would be them acting like it's a lecture. The only problem is there's nobody at the podium.
Yeah. Everybody's just standing around waiting for the speaker, and he's not showing up.
But, okay. Like, let's take a note of that, and we'll discuss that a little bit more in depth later. Because that is actually, I find, is one of the biggest problems with people who play, especially when you're new to the game and you're a little bit nervous. You don't play. You just sort of sit there and watch other people play.
Yeah, you're scared to get up there and in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Kind of like stage fright, I'd say.
Yeah, actually, that's probably a very good example of what it is. And
It's
obviously,
probably
you
the
can't
same
have a
thing,
successful
actually.
character if you never take the podium.
Yeah.
Mr. Dagwood, what do you think? You gonna give me a hug too?
I am actually about for one thing there. I think you used the word negotiation perfectly in this case. Because it's not merely that, everybody wants their turn. Because as you said, like,
feels
as we
good,
talked
man.
before, when you have a good DM gives everybody their chance to be awesome. And some characters do have more or less to provide at a particular time. Sometimes a player is more or less interactive. And it is true that people are more likely to remember those crazy stories with a very involved character who, did something. But at the same time, everyone is okay with finding a natural place where, sometimes there's more or less of a party leader. Sometimes that's not the case. But in any case, there is room for everybody, and it comes down to what are you bringing to the table. Because if you're saying, let's pull a familiar escapade from way, way, way back, someone I had played with would discuss in detail every time his character pulled out a pipe and would smoke it. Nobody cares. A couple of times that's fine, that's character flavor, but you can't just have a big bowl of pepper. You actually have to have some substance to your meal here. And so bringing something cool to the table also encourages other people to say, oh, hey, yeah, that's cool. Let's do your thing for a while.
Yeah, okay. So, I like where that goes, right? So, taking the spotlight to basically, like, And that's sort of where the war kind of thing comes in. And you see it a lot of times, especially with the Spurgy kind of players, who, like, just, they have to have attention right now.
Yeah.
It's like somebody will be doing something, Spurgy McSpurgspurg will be bored, and he'll just be like, he'll put on, like, his crazy accent or whatever, if he has one. And accents are great, I'm not ditching on accents. But, like, they'll put on the crazy accent, and then they'll just start just yelling over everybody and stealing the show.
Yeah.
You know, my character does this thing that he does, and like literally it'd be something asinine like smokes a pipe, right? Yeah. And everyone is looking and they go, "What the fuck was that all about?" Like,
what does that bring?
Excuse my language.
Yeah, what does that bring?
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about character quirks too, right? Like character quirks are great. I like them. I put them in all my characters, at least as much as I can sort of think of doing it.
Yeah.
For better or for ill, but I don't usually bring them up, like the narrative negotiation. Like a character quirk should come up when you're discussing something with another character, like when the spotlight is already focused on you already, right? So like for example, say your character Von Spartan meets my character. Let's poke at one of the three there. I don't know. Let's say Gagora, right? The chick with the boobie.
Okay.
Right. And you're like, hey, I say a thing, and I'm just like, how do we best monetize this? That's the quirk. Is I'm always looking at things in terms of how to how much it costs and how much it's worth. And you're like, dude, I just wanted emotional support, right? Like.
I just wanted a hug, man.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I just wanted a hug. I came here for a hug box, and you're telling me how I'm not financially feasible. Like, what are you doing, right? So, like these two sort of the two characters, they talked and they talked in character, but the quirk came out while the talk was going on. Like, while the camera was already on them.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey buddy, can I have a hug? ... And then it's like, finances! And you're just like, dude, I didn't even get to finish my sentence. It's like, I don't care, time is money, friend, and just runs off.
Or you hear in the background some whack job yelling behind you, and it's like...
Well, yeah, you're having an in-depth conversation, and somebody's like, Scottish dwarf starts playing bagpipes. I play the bagpipes. And it goes, the whole thing takes a dump, right?
Yeah, it just goes through the floor.
It wasn't the words, but actually a game I was running not that long ago. We had a guy playing a dwarf who, I guess he was crazy. He had like a cock eye, and he'd go, but he did it too much until I'm like, dude, please, stop. I actually had to talk him out of the game because it was like 10 times a session, too much snorting.
So yeah, this is where the negotiation comes into play.
Yeah, there's a time and the place,
and that's also where people start treating it like a war.
Yeah.
Right. I want my character to be seen. I want my character to be heard. I want people to validate my character. Snort.
Filthy pig man.
Bagpipes now.
Oh god.
Oh god.
It's the bagpipes.
But yeah, so that's a good. I think that's an excellent point with regards to this sort of rule is the quirkiness. So keep your quirkiness sort of to yourself. If people ask about you, give a brief synopsis and say, yeah, I got these quirks every once in a while. And hell, pantomime it once in a while, but you don't have to stop the game just to say you're going to pull out your pipe and smoke it. Pick up that pencil you're already carrying and just pantomime that you're smoking while listening to the other player do his thing. People will get the gist. Like you don't have to interrupt the game for something like that.
Yeah, trust that they're going to remember, right?
Yeah, and honestly, a really successful character is very memorable. They're just, I don't know. When you've got it and you've got it, people remember. Like they know.
Yeah.
And yeah. So with that said, I think what you mentioned, we had something we were supposed to take a note of, and I didn't take any note.
Well, when everyone sits back and waits for somebody to take lead and nobody.
Yeah,
takes lead.
that's what we're talking about. Okay, so
The
let's
stage
no one
fright
at the
conundrum.
podium.
let's conversely, the other side of the coin here. The whole it's not a lecture. We're not waiting for the speaker.
Yeah.
Right. So we play like what? I think everyone who probably has listened to this or hasn't listened to it, they sort of know what this is like, or maybe they've experienced this. Like I know, maybe I was the weird kid and I never really worried about it. Like I just threw myself at these games.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people do have trouble getting into the game, right? Especially when you're early days, when you've never really played before, and you're playing with a bunch of experienced people, and then the weird accents and the bagpipes start coming out, people start shying away, right?
Yeah. The snorts start happening.
Yeah, all the
people start
snorting,
looking
all the
at
snorting in
people
the
weird.
bagpipes.
I smoke by a pipe. You said that a minute ago.
So, I guess how obviously we all know that it's when nobody speaks, there's no game.
Yeah.
And then the GM has to start telling stories or doing something goofy, and that could go really bad really quickly. Or if nobody has any, like if nobody's following any of the other rules for players, and they don't have goals, and they don't want to speak up, and that's another thing. Like this kind of problem often happens when the players don't actually have real direction. They're all shadowy loners, and the GM has put forward a hurdle that no one wants to jump over. They just want to go around it.
Yeah.
And you get this all the time. So, how would you best mitigate, I think, this would be the question, how would you best mitigate the times when nobody wants to act? How as a GM do you think that would best happen? Start with Mr. Dagwood, because we already went around one way.
Speaking of the spotlight, putting me on one. Okay.
Yeah, I need time to think anyway.
Stop doodling, Mr. Dagwood, with your art skills.
I'm doodling a picture of a lazy-eyed guy. All right.
Needs more
frick.
bagpipes.
I think, sometimes it comes down to encouragement outside of the game, but as we all know, the best manipulation of the game happens in the game. It's seamless, right? And I think that's where NPCs can be helpful, especially if you can find someone who's maybe a less interactive player and find a way to interact with them. Because nobody wants to just sit there going, I don't know. Perhaps follow any natural lead that arises from it, throw things to the wind and see where they land. But it's tough, because you can't just throw adventure at them. You can't just have a lion jump out of the signboard, which is something that's happened in a game I played. You can't just do that, and especially not too much. So I can't say I really know the answer to that one.
Was it a paper lion?
No, like it literally was just a lion that jumped through the signboard, and it was a total party kill in the first session. It was a new DM. He had no idea what he was doing. He should have listened to your podcast.
Oh.
Thanks for the hug.
Oh, man.
But, okay. How about then, well, Mr. the Spartan, do you have anything to say about regarding that, how we sort of go about fixing that problem?
Well,
as a person who's experienced a game where nobody has any direction and nobody wants to speak up?
If nobody wants to speak up, it can be hard to fix because, again, nobody wants to speak up. And just, I don't know, it's hard to fix. It kind of comes down to the group as a whole to stand up and decide on what they're going to do.
Yeah. And let's be clear, right? Because the first thing I'm thinking here is like, well, what would a detractor say to this idea? Just to like solidify, build some fortifiers on this hug box that we've built for ourselves.
Got to keep the hug going.
This could be an argument against the idea that GMs shouldn't be writing their own plots. Right? I've got a bunch of players, they don't like to speak up, so I'm just going to write a story for them to follow.
Well, that could work, though. Like, if nobody has a direction, giving them one that they can follow can make the game that would be very stagnant and not really fun.
Almost like a primer?
Yeah.
But see what I would say in this situation is that that's the same as like putting up any roadblock or something like that. Like not creating a plot for them that they have to follow, but just creating more and more interesting instances. Shill the chaos engine, bam. But because like if you could produce a story for them and they could all not speak up and not do it, like it's like, well, okay, I spent my time, wrote up this story. Okay, directionless party. Prince Roland needs your help. You need to go help him. And they're just like, it's okay. Are you guys gonna go to Prince Roland? Okay, you guys go to Prince Roland, and they're just like, okay. And Prince Roland tells you you're gonna save the princess. Like, it just becomes this lecture, a literal lecture, where the GM just is like, okay, well, you do this. Okay, well, now there's orcs. Do you roll dice? Yes? Great, you win. Like, this is not a successful game. This sounds like, drudgery. Everybody's just here to listen to the GM struggle.
Well, to be fair, if it's literally that bad, I don't think you had a game in the beginning.
No, I think not a successful one.
No, definitely not a successful one.
I think that's the kind of thing that might come down to just flat-out experience. You can encourage people, but, it's that whole lead the horse to water saying, right? There's only so much you can do. You can throw a pre-made adventure at them, but unless you can get people excited about the game,
it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, and then you're not really playing. And as you pointed out, if it's no longer a game, there's only one more thing that all this paper and pencil could be, and that's a chore.
It's fair. Homework.
Nobody likes homework.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, there you go. Well, that makes sense. Let me think. Where was I next on this kind of idea?
I don't know. You got an arrow on your sheet.
Yep, that's it. I didn't take very much in the way of notes. But, where was I then? What was I had something on my head here, and then we sort of started talking about characters. Oh, what if the, here's a good one. What if the GM is the only quiet person? Or what if the GM's the quiet one? And the players are they kind of want to do stuff, but the GM's not really in his... the GM's the one in the shell. He doesn't speak up very much. Stuff's not really happening so much because the GM... What can the players do to... I would say help the GM?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't give out too much. He's read the rules for GMs. He's took it super seriously. He doesn't write anything. He's just like, I don't know. He's just so nervous because he doesn't want to screw it up.
Ask questions. Ask him questions. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
the more you
get
can
him
say
thinking.
things like, what's in the room? Is there even questions that are suggestions like, you say we're in a dining room, is there a chandelier? Because you start stimulating that imagination, that's how you get people
asking questions. So would it work the other way around, though, with the players? And the GM's all like, instead of just asking, what are you guys going to do? Being like, well, what's around you? What do you think?
What is Gagora
what are you seeing right now? What are you thinking right now?
That could be a good way to bring people into the group and get somebody up on the podium.
I think it at least clarifies whatever expectations you'd have of them, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It says, it's a way of gently saying, you need to get involved, right?
Yeah.
Or better, I would like you to get involved. You don't need to do anything.
Well,
This is not a prison.
No, but they need to if they want to have fun.
Bring them into the conversation, into the game, so they're not just sitting back twiddling.
I think Swampy said something about that too. Where often when he feels that the scene is stagnant, he'll ask the players, "What are you thinking right now?" And he'll go through the characters. What are you thinking right now? What's your character?
What's on your brain?
Yeah, what's on your brain there?
Yeah,
and so it gets the players sort of getting answers. And so if there's a stuck part, right? And for whatever reason the NPC thing's just not happening, but like the players do want to play. Like this isn't just like we're all here doing a chore, which is obviously that's just failure.
Yeah,
you can't force people to interact with you. And if no matter what you do, you throw NPCs at them. Hey, buddy, how's it going? You want to buy my wares? I need a quest done, or whatever nonsense, right?
And they're all just like, eggs
leave me alone. I'm sad, depressed. I'm a loner. I don't talk to people. I don't even speak the language. Who knows what other nonsense that they have, right? If the things that you throw at them are not working, maybe you just, I don't know, start getting creative in just asking them questions. What do you see? What are you looking for? What's happening now?
Yeah.
What's going through your head? Hell, what? Now that I'm thinking about it, You know what might be interesting is going right into the mundane. It's like you got the sniffles. You know, you just
Give him a
you're,
cold.
You're sneezing. You know, what do you do, man? It's like this cold. Like, you're starting to sneeze, and it's chronic. Like, this is not fun. You don't like this sneezing.
No, that's not bad at all. Like, literally saying to their... So, it's been a while. You've been traveling for several weeks. Did anyone buy soap?
Yeah, you're hungry. Yeah, maybe, like, if nobody wants to do high adventure, maybe it is the quest for soap. Right?
You know what? It could get them started and bring them into the world.
Yeah, it might be there, like, where it's like, oh, you know what? You're tired, man. You need to find a place to sleep, or else you're going to fall asleep on the street. Well, I just fall asleep on the street. It's like, okay.
Well, you wake up without your pants and your money and...
Yeah, and there's a homeless man dancing across the street from you wearing pants that look vaguely familiar.
He's got a big bag of cash somehow.
He's dancing, he's throwing it around. He loves it. What do you do? But like, this is like, maybe you just let the game try to get more and more mundane, and it
bring them
eventually
into the nitty gritty of the world. And
eventually, if they're like,
if they want to play, they'll grab onto it eventually.
Something they'll grab onto something, even if it's something. And if it turns into a fucking, if your D&D game turns into The Office or like some ridiculously silly
as long as it's
sitcom,
entertaining.
I've run it. Like, I've run games like that, and they're good. Like, the game becomes a rom-com or something, then awesome, right?
Oh, jeez. We're getting...
Fade to black.
I know D&D's
Getting
not
way out
quite
there.
built for that kind of thing, but there are other systems that can do these things very effectively. Shill.
I like how you snuck that in there very subtly.
Yeah, well,
What? Subtle what?
Yeah, I know, right? Didn't even see it.
yeah.
Took me a second. Yeah.
Dead air.
Oh, man.
No. So yeah, no, I think that might be there might be something to that, in my opinion. Like, that's definitely
Go with...
just narrow it down.
Yeah.
Because even like the hero's journey, the quintessential, one of the quintessential stories, right? Always begins with the regular world, and then it's turned into a magical one. That's the gist of it. Whether it's Harry Potter going to 9 3/4 or whatever, in the end, you've always got this shift.
Yeah.
It's
a change.
You're watching John Wick. And the first thing that's happening is this guy going through his very normal life, and then by the end of the game, he's just shooting everybody, right?
Yeah. It's mass murder.
And so
everyone's dying.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with beginning with the mundane and then twisting it into a story once everyone gets into this world, right?
Yeah, it could definitely be a good opener.
Yeah.
Good way to bring new characters, even old characters.
Well, just sometimes
Old
mundane
ends.
stuff like that. Even if the characters they have direction.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe you just want to record scratch them and be like, "Nah, dog, you gotta poop." Like,
Well,
you think you're gonna go to the merchants, but I'm telling you right now, that is not happening unless you want to smell and be embarrassed.
No, but even saying to a character, it's roughly about dinner time. What kind of establishment would you eat at?
Yeah, where do you want to go?
You're kind of hungry and you didn't bring rations to the market.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, what kind of rations? What's in your rations? Is it just dried kibble or
Brought
what?
some trail mix.
And that also brings up some more interesting ideas too. It's like, you might want to It's interesting that this cast is becoming more about the idea of like putting in mundane tasks or adding mundane stuff to your story to just sort of spice it up a bit. Like, obviously this is not something you do every day, but like maybe it's a good idea.
Well, yeah, because being superheroes all the time can turn into the mundane, and the mundane can be like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, it's
type
like,
of thing.
I just fought Galactus, but finding a washroom afterwards was the real freaking battle. How many porta potties are there in space? None.
Exactly.
And Lady Moonglow, I didn't want her to see me poop. Anyway.
Do druids even poop?
Yeah, heck yeah, they do. All over the place.
I guess the real question.
Oh my
is
God.
better shit in the woods?
Just to add some real life story to this.
Harry.
we had these really hippie tenants downstairs. Like, we were renting upstairs and they were renting downstairs, and they converted their toilet to a no flush human, fecal trap.
Okay,
so that they could take.
Is that like a grease trap?
It's
It's
just
like a recycling
Yeah.
box.
Oh,
thing.
okay, like one of those.
Yeah, they turn the
Like a
water off on their
composter.
Yeah.
they turn the water off on their toilet and they put a trap there so that you could literally take their excrement and throw it outside in the backyard that we were communally using. They had a compost full of human shit that the landlord didn't actually know about
Oh,
until after we had moved out, and we're just they've been composting human shit over there. And,
have
and
fun
he
with
was
that
just like,
information.
I thought human shit wasn't good for plants, though.
It's
well, it's like they had sawdust and stuff, and I guess the
You
smell
gotta mix
wasn't
stuff
that
into
bad.
it,
Yeah,
but-
they mixed a
yeah.
bunch of crap into it. Like, I'm not gonna defend them, but it was really funny because,
Oh my god.
yeah, they were pretty okay people. They're kind of cute, but yeah, they just
Hippies in their
way
dry
too
shit compost.
way too hippy dippy. Like the total human excrement compost was, I think, probably where I was just like, yep, you were a solid 8 on the crazy meter. We're done with that.
See, I'll meet them in the middle. I don't always flush if it's
Human
just
shit!
pee. If it's just pee, if it's poo, you have to flush your poo.
No, there's no flushing. They don't want to waste water.
well.
Save the environment.
I mean, we're only on like one of the biggest lakes. Well, the biggest lake in the world.
Yeah, but almost all water usage is by industrial.
Hashtag dox ourselves.
Well, we're somewhere in.
I didn't say where.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I'm sure the internet will one day look back on this and they'll try to figure out where we are if we haven't announced it by the end of the many series that we will have.
Oh, at
Yeah.
the rate
When we
we're
have a
going-
million subscribers and are doing live streams and raking in those fat super chats.
And
Oh,
Swampy
man.
is dropping our SIN card numbers.
Oh yeah, he will. Watch. Oh yeah, it's gonna be bad. Prepare, boys.
Hide your numbers.
Man.
I like Betty Boop.
Goddamn. She's going ham on that kazoo.
Yeah, man. She can. She's allowed. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, other than that, I don't really have this is going to be a short episode. Usually they're about an hour long, but
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to say other than that. Guys, share the space. GMs, if your players are having trouble, freaking just narrow it down to more and more mundane stuff until they somehow take grab of it. You might just be playing the game where they all go find something to eat, and just put a little make the problems not combat
You know
problems.
what?
Make the
Yeah.
problems social problems.
Actually, I had a campaign that went on to hunting a basilisk because I had basilisk knuckle for sale in a restaurant in an inn, and they were like, "Oh, where's the basilisk come from?" And they're like, "Oh, some guy brought it in. We preserve it, keep some, right?" And so they started going, "Well, who the heck hunts basilisks?" And then they wound up hunting one. So it actually kicked off a whole adventure. So you know what? I think you got a point there.
There
Yeah.
you are. But
Gotta find something that clicks with your players
players
and your GM.
learn to grab the spotlight when you can, and if you don't have a reason to grab the spotlight, find one. And if you're too nervous to grab the spotlight, you got to get over it.
Yeah.
If you want to successfully play a game, then because your actions too, they spur other characters on, right? So it's not just about you. If you decide that you want to do a thing and the other character agrees with you, he'll help you and join you, and that's something that you add to the character. And if the character say disagrees with you, then that also adds to their character, and they'll go against you somehow, and you'll have a dialogue, or you'll fight in the crazier option, in the crazier scenarios. But stuff will happen, and all the characters will grow as a result.
Yeah.
And if everybody does nothing, and the GM's stuck because he's one of those people who doesn't say anything either, and everybody's just really nervous, or who knows what, then nothing happens. You end up with a dumb game, and you probably should just go watch TV or something.
Go get a bottle of whiskey.
Go get well, you know what? Alcohol does help a lot when it comes to things like that. So,
Inebriation can break down fear.
absolutely. Sometimes just freaking cranking back. I don't know, depending on who you are. Wine, whiskey. I know Swampy he likes whiskey.
Yeah.
No, scotch.
Scotch.
He likes scotch. And we're cheap guys. We like Kingsgate. Jeez, fortified amaretto wine.
Oh my.
It's an Apera.
It's cheap. It's
It is like $8
I think it's
sherry.
$8. Yeah, it's so
That is-
ridiculous. It's not even.
That
but
sounds
it's
horrible.
It's like 14%. Oh, there's some over here if you want to taste.
I'm not sure I want to.
It's all right. It's drinkable. I grew a bit of a taste for it, but there are obviously better things.
It's got a nice nutty flavor to it. Actually, if I can mention something about it not being a war, like a good DM would referee these kind of things and make sure that everyone gets their chance, encouraging anybody who seems to be lagging behind, and even gently reining people back if they seem to be getting a little too hard.
How would you go about that? That's actually a good point. I didn't even think about that. Okay, someone's being a disruptive prick. It's a war for him, or for multiple players. How do you deal with that? How are we dealing with this?
First step, I find give them something to work with. Second step, find a way to work their goals with someone else. Third step, ignore them in exchange for someone else if necessary. And if all else fails, I would talk to them out of game. It's my last option, but it's amazing how many things can be fixed just by saying, listen, man, I want to talk to you something about the betterment of the game. I've noticed this, this, and this, and I was wondering if you could consider blank. And you can get wonders out of people who are otherwise, difficult players, simply because a lot of time they either don't realize it or it's not directly brought up. But whenever you're doing that, it's either got to be after the game or it's just really not the best option. As far as a player goes, though, I think all players have to realize that everybody wants a chance to be awesome, and that's a great time for players to actually reach out to each other and encourage each other to say, if the DM asks you what you're thinking, that's pretty good, but what's better? If one of the other players, one of the characters says to your character, hey, Butt Dragon McFart, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
and they say,
I've done that as a character too. Which, actually, that makes me think. Yeah. Maybe every player should just be a little bit of a GM.
Yeah, that could...
Is that the grand truth that maybe we've come to find? Like, what do we think of that? Every player should be a little bit of a GM. Like, obviously the GM has power over the world, but maybe when you see a player struggling, maybe you as a GM, as a baby GM who controls the world of your character, has to be like, hey, are you hungry? You want to get something to eat?
Go grab a bite.
There's a washroom over there. You got to poop.
That sounds like good role playing to me.
Yeah, that encourages people to work together.
Well, and it's in character which develops everything.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Maybe the characters in the GM aren't so different. GM just doesn't get a character to confine themselves to.
Maybe players need to take on a little bit of responsibility for the game. Yeah. Not just their own characters, but the table.
Yeah.
Well, the GM is a player too, and it is a negotiation, not a lecture. Ooh, inner truths.
Dun, dun,
inner
dun.
truths. Let's all get in here for a group hug.
Oh man.
Well, no, that's it. I like that point where it's like the GM, like everyone should act like a GM as best they can. Obviously, you don't scale. Oh, there's monsters happen and stuff. Like you don't take it literally, but like you as a player, maybe you should help someone else put the hurdles in front of them, take their story or whatever. Start socially interacting with the other characters outside of the combat and be like, "What's up, boys? What's this, that, and the other thing?"
Maybe even encourage them to take on their goals.
Yeah, that might be a way to go for sure. I like it, especially if you see someone being quiet.
Oh, see, here's the thing: if it was a war and everyone's trying to undermine each other to take the spotlight, that's not going to work out very well. But if it were the opposite and everybody was trying to make room for each other, it would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that reminds me. We had a player.
Point.
Well, yeah, you can't just after you, no, after you, please.
Yeah,
after
you get the infinite door issue.
Canadian door opening.
Yeah, we had a player,
8 people standing around the open door,
who was always really quiet. I guess he would be like a super quiet player. Perfect example of a quiet player, and it was always to the point. I was really bad for it, I think. But I think other people fell into the trap too. He was so quiet and so unassuming that even when you asked him what you were doing, you'd run roughshod over before he finishes. Because like there would literally be a 15 to 30 second pause before he answers you. Like he acknowledges visually that he's understood what you're saying.
Yeah.
But he'll just sit there with a blank stare, and everybody will be silent, waiting for him to respond. And then he'll respond, and the things he does say sometimes is really spot on. But sometimes you just get tired of waiting for him and you just run rough over that guy.
Yeah.
And maybe he gets frustrated, maybe not. But sometimes, like, there were a couple games that fell apart because he got frustrated over it. And I've never really figured out exactly how to deal with that, other than to just, like, let them have their time.
Well, sometimes you got to think about a character, especially if it's pretty far from what you would normally do. Because generally when people make characters, at least in my experience, I tend to make characters vaguely familiar to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And characters that are wildly different, I have to think about it, about what they would do. Because what they would do in comparison to what I would do could be vastly different.
So you're saying give them the time.
Yeah,
give them that time. So you got the guy who sits there for a whole minute just in silence thinking about what he's doing without saying anything. Let him have the time. Tell everyone to just be quiet. Give him a few seconds.
He should be thinking about what his character... He should be following what the group is doing and thinking about how his character would say... What his character would say, how they would react, what they would do as it's happening. So that when somebody comes up to him and says, hey, what do you think? They can be on the ball. They might need like 5 seconds to get their words straight, but...
To be honest, like, when I wrote this rule in university, now that I'm thinking about it, I remember having him in mind. Like, this guy was... Like, this rule is specifically for that guy.
Oh.
Basically, like, you gotta start talking.
Yeah.
But the problem is the guy's so unassuming. Like, he literally won't talk if anyone's talking over him. In the game, everyone's talking over each other.
Of course.
I know.
So this rule, in a way, runs rough over that guy. It's not a solution to that guy. But that's where the negotiation idea comes in, and everyone's got to just... Maybe for that one guy, everyone's just got to shut up, all look at him, give him that few minutes. Because thinking about it, it seemed that was okay. It was when people forgot about them. And that's the thing, is that's what always made these games fall apart. Is because he never spoke, people... He would get frustrated because no one would ever ask him what his gig is, or what he wants to do. And people would just ignore him. And unfortunately, that's a byproduct of doing nothing. Like, that's the whole point, where it's not a lecture. You're not just there to listen. You have to negotiate for the spotlight. Part of a negotiation is not just sitting there waiting for people to, give you the spotlight. Here you are. You have to take it.
Yeah.
You have to...
So none of his characters could be successful because, for whatever reason, he has that hang-up. But for other characters, if they want, they would have to provide... Like, if all the other players playing together would probably have to provide the opportunity for them to speak. Just understand that this is like a special needs character. Special needs player. Like, he's all... Like, the guy who played was not special needs. Like, don't get me wrong. But this is, like, in terms of playing the game, this is the guy that...
You gotta...
He's the exception who you have to sort of work around.
Oh, yeah, because in the game that I'm running now, I have a rather newish player who's still, like, he's getting into things, he's having fun and all that, but, taking the initiative, speaking in character, that kind of stuff is still new to him. And sometimes, he's a smart guy, but he's one of those people that takes a while to get his thoughts in order, right?
Yeah.
And so I find quite often telling him straight out, it's like, he talks... it's like, if he seems to be taking a while, say, can I come back to you? He's like, oh yeah, great, because then it gives him time to think, right?
Yeah, and it reaffirms him that he's going to have his moment, too.
Yeah, so he's okay with going around the table again and coming back to him at a later point. So that might also be something that can work for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just having a table, like almost like a let's go around the table every once in a while.
Yeah.
That actually might be the solution. That would probably be part of this negotiation, is like when you realize you have a character like that, a player like that, you go around the table and you're just like, okay, what's everyone thinking right now? Kind of like what Swampy was saying he does. Mm-hmm. But do it more vigorously, I would say. To shill Cast slightly again, Cast treats every interaction like a combat. It might be a good idea just to roll initiative for every interaction like that.
Yeah,
like interactions with multiple people, just roll initiative. Or just go around the table as if you just established the sort of initiative off the cuff.
Yeah.
But treat it like a combat. What's your action? What's your action? This guy just told this guy he's an idiot. What's your action? What do
say
you have
about
a
that?
response? Do you no, I'm going to hold my action. Okay. Hold my social action to respond later. Very good. You just go around the board. That might force something like that to happen.
Yeah, I like that.
That would
sounds
give
good.
everyone a fair chance, at least. It might not be totally organic sometimes, but at least doing it sometimes would make sure that people...
Combat's pretty organic because everybody sort of understands what's going on there.
Yeah.
Right? Like people understand initiative and they've gotten used to it. So the flow of an initiative-based combat is pretty
Standard.
fine. Pretty standard.
Yeah.
People aren't used to the social thing because I find that especially in Dungeons and Dragons, people don't. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't use initiative for
Everything.
non-physical combat interactions.
Yeah.
But I don't know, in Cast, you do. Like every interaction is the exact same mechanic. So, and why not just use initiative as the all around how quick are you? You know, you might be quick-witted if you have high initiative as well. You're just keen. You're very the might just be what it is. Keenness.
That's true.
Quick wit.
Yeah. Roll initiative on social combat. The guy's about to insult you, but you're going to preempt him. Roll initiative.
Oh man.
It's like, don't even open your mouth, butt dragon.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up before you even say anything. Excuse my words. Like that, to me, that sounds great. Like maybe that's the way to deal with a player like that. And once again, that would be part of the negotiation. Yeah. Wow, I think we touched on even more things than we thought we would touch on. We were about to end it. We went an extra 15 minutes. We're getting close to the hour mark there.
Oh, there you go.
Is there anything anyone wants to add that we've sort of delved from this pile of words that we had?
Not really. I'd sum up that, as negotiation, it's based on the idea that everyone wants to have their turn, that they're offering something cool that's going to enhance the story, right?
Sorry.
That's some give, that's some take. I don't think it necessarily has to be 100% equal. Some people just talk more than others, and some people are fine with that. You know, some people take the lead, others are a little bit more shy. As long as everyone's having fun, that's really the kicker.
Wow. Mr. Spartan, you have anything to say?
No, not really. It's pretty much everything I could think of was covered. Just trying to have fun. Like,
wow.
It's not it's I know, real insightful,
We're
right?
super.
But just I don't know.
All right. Well,
Enjoy yourself.
yeah,
Just enjoy yourself.
That's true.
Because if
You
you're
know
not
what?
enjoying yourself, you can't really have a fun game.
I know one thing to add, and that would be to any players who actually listen and take this kind of stuff to heart, and that is that nobody around the table is judging you. A lot of people might be a little uptight thinking that, well, what if I don't do a good job or something like that. Everybody was a beginning player once, and everyone knows what it's like to try. No one's going to judge anybody for giving it their best shot or for talking in character.
Yeah.
And anybody who is doing the judging, if those people exist, they're the ones who are at fault. They're the ass that needs to be kicked, not you for doing whatever
fuck those
an
guys.
amateur job on something. And that's pretty normal.
Yeah, don't worry about taking the leap, taking the plunge.
Hello?
Cell phones. All right. Well, I'll just I guess I'll close out by basically saying, the game is a negotiation for the narrative spotlight, and your character is one of the people in the negotiation, along with the GM and all the other characters. And the game, it prospers when everybody has a chance to talk, and when everybody interacts with each other, right? For better or for ill, as long as you're interacting with each other, that's the way the successful player becomes successful. And it not being a war or a lecture is basically, guys, play nice and don't just sit there with your thumbs up your bums, right? You guys need to start talking, and you guys need to interact with each other, with the GM, with the world, with the setting. If you're not interested in what the GM is throwing out, well, invent something else that you are interested in. It's like, it doesn't have to be epic. Sometimes maybe you just want to get the best food in town. Figure out where the best restaurant is.
Yeah.
If the GM And that might be a very polite way of saying we're not really interested, other than saying your quest is dumb, your plot is stupid and irrelevant. But yeah, with that said, I think we can get out of our hug here.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. You all take care. Like and subscribe. Buy that merch. There's no merch. Like and subscribe. Buy that merch. We've still got a few of those Dune cards left for our big giveaway. If you want to send us a message, we can send you one of those beautiful 1980s Dune collectible trading cards. We still got that Beast Raban sticker too.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Whoever's into that one. Whoo! Anyway. Alright, so I think that's good for this week. It's about we've somehow padded this episode to actually fill the complete time. Somehow. I don't understand how we did it.
We dug deep.
We dug deep.
Yeah.
But we got there.
Yeah.
And so next episode, actually,
Oh boy.
now that we're talking about it, the last episode on the playerism, the GM is not always correct.
Oh, that's gonna cause some fires.
You just had to make a cluster sandwich.
That's the last boss, boys.
You want to fight God? Jeez.
That's right. The GM is not always correct.
That's a touchy subject.
That is a
It
touchy
is.
subject.
So that's going to be the discussion. We're going to end on a bang. We started on a bang with plot is stupid, and we're going to end on a bang. The GM is not always right. You guys take care and have yourselves a great day.